all insults of every nature that you can imagine, and then forced hugging. Okay, she started off in California for a year. Then she was down in Utah in a Mormon-run facility, which subsequently was bought by Bain Capital in a massive buyout of all those abusive facilities. Weird. Huh, Bain Capital. That, what is his name? Senator Romney used to be the head of it. It's owned by Mormons. Anyway, we're going to figure that out. Like 6 other young celebrity kids, super celebrities, their kids got put in that abusive facility. Anyway, we're going to unravel that one. But okay, Jane Fonda, one of the creators of the post-traumatic stress concept, who went over there to try to make peace, and then she got manipulated into looking like she was making fun of all the veterans, insulting them, right? So she's one of the most important on a list of the top 10 advocates for veterans of all time. Okay, she got slandered, in my opinion. That needs to really get cleared up. Okay, if she hadn't been there, they wouldn't have achieved the post-traumatic stress concept. All right. So, Bruce Perry, Charles Figley, Bessel Kolk. He knows that all the illnesses are being caused by stress, but all the doctors throughout the entire medical system are ignoring that. So in 2008, Chuck Norris wrote a book called Black Belt Patriotism, in which he said 2 million Americans die every year from illnesses which are reversible with healthy living. Heart attacks, high blood pressure, strokes, cancer. Oh, well, gee. 75% of cancer is caused by cigarettes, unhealthy living, etc. Do the math. Gabor Mate, he said 100 times, I've found dozens of videos of him saying ADHD is a myth, so is bipolar, etc., etc. Let's see, for anybody who wants to argue about that, can I cite John Breyer at University of Southern California, who went in and found in the insane asylums that 70% of them had severe traumatic experiences, but that doesn't even take into account like the other 30%, that you can have like 10 moderate traumatic experiences and you can end up in the same boat. Then Pepperdine University, David Foy, same studies 20 years ago. I'm sure you know all about them. So what do I want to do? I want to do something that costs nothing. But I did ask Rick Warren for a small investment, since his church was providing the mental health care, which did not and was not trauma informed, and was supporting and endorsing the labels and the overdrugging, which caused my friend Carlos to use a hatchet on his stepmother, and that was very bad for the father and the ex-wife. Okay, now the ex-wife has severe high blood pressure. She's working 9 to 6, 7 o'clock at night, 9 to 5, 9 to 6 job. Hypertension. Her son is in hell getting tortured. Okay, we got layers of problems here, but what I want to do is I want to bring a task force of all these people together to deliver a message to Vice President Kamala Harris and President Joe Biden, which says, we'd like to ask you to declare emergency. Our friends in prison, 6,000 veterans and Oscar, are getting malnourished. They're getting a slave diet. Slavery. Slaves got the similar diet. Okay? And not enough. So they're chronically hungry, and then they're stabbing the guards. Okay? The guards don't like that. That's a human rights violation on the guards. And it can be solved just like that. Just enable the funding on an emergency basis. So I want to come together to deliver a message to the president and the vice president over the next couple weeks. 2, we got a list of requests. All those veterans that are homeless. Okay, that's what Shad is working on from morning till night. Hundreds of veterans are homeless here. They used to be all lined up on this homeless row right next to 2,000 acres that were supposed to have housing for the last 100 years, but the people running the show in the VA just, oops, they've been fighting it. So, a couple years ago, they chased all the veterans away, enticed them with temporary lame housing. Okay, another human rights violation. Okay, living in a car where you got to sit upright every night or lie down in seats and then in cramped positions. Okay, that was what John McCain, he was in like these, they use these cramped positions as torture. John McCain during the Vietnam War, he was a Hanoi prison, terrible food, not enough food, hunger constantly, threats of violence, insults, isolation. Oscar's in lockdown. All the veterans are in lockdown now because they keep having violence. Okay. Are we halfway there to the same thing? Okay, it's a violation of the Constitution. It's a violation of Christian values. Jesus Christ came here to end crucifixion. Okay, millions of kids are going hungry. Millions of veterans going hungry. Yeah, we would like to declare an end to hunger so that they have food. Bottom line, let's do that. Somebody once said, a long time ago said, the day that we feed all the hungry kids in the world, we're going to see the biggest explosion of happiness that the world has ever seen. Well, Dr. Bruce Perry said in his video with Kay Warren a couple years ago, in the video, he said, if you bring up kids in a positive environment, then they walk out and then they see the adults and they say, hi. And then the adults say hi back, and then it elicits a smile that goes back and forth because contagious emotions are contagious. Okay, so millions of kids are walking around hungry. They're going to school and they're hungry. And, the lunch people try to feed them and then they get fired. Just Google that one. Okay, and my friend who's calling, who's been depressed and on the drugs for 10 years, okay, she tells me every day how bummed out she is. Okay, moping around, sleeping half the day on the drugs. Okay, it's contagious, okay? All I'm trying to do is create a series of events. Okay, you can talk where you are, I'll talk where I am. We'll do Kay Warren, she did this with Bruce Perry, it was perfect. Okay, she has some kind of software that can mix. Okay, all the Hollywood people. Okay, Martin Sheen. He can get through the 100 celebrities that are looking for the cure. Okay? Bunch of them got these labels. Alright? It should be able to happen. The chart that I made should be able to go. A third of them have the phony labels. ADHD or bipolar disorder. Oh yeah, so I mentioned see, if we spend $1 trillion a year on healthy living programs, my dad is the founding medical director of the Pritikin Longevity Center back in the 1970s. They bought a hotel on Santa Monica Beach. Rich people would come down and spend $20,000 to stay there for a month, exercise, eat right, get a perfect diet. Okay, if you spend $1 trillion a year, you could have 100 million Americans who are obese go there for a month. You could have all the veterans that have post-traumatic stress go there for a month. You could have places out in the wilderness, resorts. I'm working with the Hualapai tribe. They have the Grand Canyon as their territory. They want to build a health resort there that people can go there and stay there for a month, maybe above the Grand Canyon. Some of them go down, some of them, nearby. $1 trillion. So they're all traumatized. Okay? I'm working with a family at Kiowa Gordon. I've known them for 35 years. 35 years ago, we went through a program up in the mountains that was about healing, 10 days long. It has all these secrets for healing post-traumatic stress in it. Okay, that's how long I've been experiencing the cure. All right? Once you get it in your head, you want to share with people around you, but you need help because they won't listen to you because they are mesmerized by the doctors. So my mom has hypertension. She's taken 3 of the drugs, and her health is going over a cliff. She gained 30 pounds, 89 years old. Help. Okay, hypertension. So, Henry Waxman, he went through the Pritikin program. Carl Reiner, Rob Reiner's dad, he went through the Pritikin program. Oh, gee, all those people, you guys raised billions of dollars for the cigarette thingy, for the ads, and etc. Well, if all the people with the addiction to cigarettes could go for a month for healthy living, nicotine stimulates dopamine. You got to reset the stress system. I got multiple friends who smoke for the last 20, 30 years. Okay, they're super traumatized. Okay. Anyway, I'm aggravated, but anyway, it's all God's plan and the devil's plan. Okay, we're gonna get into that. Anyway, the best guy on the planet is Zachary Levi and Kevin Smith, super celebrities. They know the cure and they've been talking about it. They're on a mission to share with the world. Zachary Levi, super celebrity. Okay? We're going to get him to come to the event. Okay? He loves talking about this. He wrote a book about it. Okay? He's the best person I've heard in over 20 years talking about post-traumatic stress. He is the best. That's a super celebrity. Okay? Dolph Lundgren did an awesome TED Talk on post-traumatic stress. Okay, who else is on here? Kolk. Gabor Mate. He has been saying, I got a dozen videos saying that's phony labels. Vincent Felitti. Okay, is he still alive? All right, if he's still alive. Hey, I'm busy right now. I'm on the phone. Hey, I'm on the phone right now. It's real important, please. Okay. My friend in the CIA, before he died 20 years ago, he said that he met Osama bin Laden. Okay. Here at his friend Judy Lear's house, who I also got to know really well. That was 1979, so they recruited Osama bin Laden. If Osama bin Laden can get heard by 5 billion people and get a message to 5 billion people, okay, by killing a few thousand people, surely between 10 of us, we can be heard by 6 billion people by doing something positive. Okay. If all of these people get the cure, they can get to 6 billion people overnight. Okay, it's a very simple formula. So Vincent Felitti has been wanting to do that for 30 years. Call him up. 30 years ago, he came up with the idea, let's just connect with celebrities. You know, like Bruce Willis with Alzheimer's, or, you know, trace, their life history, connected to their traumatic experiences. Okay, it hasn't happened yet. I'm looking forward to meeting him and seeing how many celebrities did he sit down with and talk about this. I like to understand what's happening. So, but now I got this whole lined up for the stars to all line up. 100 of them. 100 of them are looking for the cure, and they are in bad shape. They are miserable. So this really rich Jewish guy that I know, he once told me, Chris, you got to find out what the fish are hungry for. You got to find out what the fish are hungry for. If you want them to bite, well, he didn't say that if you want them to bite. You got to find. Well, what I figured out in 20 years of knocking on doors and begging and pleading people to come together and share the cure, you got to find hungry fish who are hungry for what you got. Okay, so Oscar In 20 years of calling people, he's the first person who's calling me back every single day, like clockwork, like 4 times a day. So now I have at least 2 hours of video phone calls where he's on just the phone talking about his situation and what's the solution. So he got a unfair trial, just like a lot of veterans. So he got an unfair trial. The prosecution refused to list all the drugs that were given to him and, really tell the whole story about how his mother was begging and pleading for help as he was getting violent and suicidal. I mean, not violent, but threatening violence and suicidal over like a year of all these crazy ass drugs. And she's going to the psychologist. She's asking for help. He gets, 5150 locked down for a month. She's saying, oh, wow, he's suicidal and threatening violence, homicidal. And they let him out. Okay, who decides to do that? Because they keep doing it over and over. Is that like Kamala Harris? She's the prosecutor. Well, she's the chief prosecutor in California who decides what the policy is of, I don't care how many drugs they're taking. If they went crazy and killed somebody or killed themselves, I don't care. We're not going to admit that. We're going to fight that every step of the way. Oh, but then her friends in Washington are the ones that are allowing the veterans to get over-medicated with the same combinations that's causing them to kill themselves 22 a day. Okay, connect the dots here, all right? One more thing. I got a video of President Biden, President Obama, Javier Becerra, the prosecutor that followed Kamala Harris, who's now running Medicare and Medicaid, Javier Becerra, Senator Rockefeller, let's see, Senator Tom Harkin. I've got a 5-minute video. President Obama, President Biden, I already said that. They're saying millions of seniors are taking 16 drugs in bad combinations. It's making them sick and bankrupt in America, killing them and making them suffer. And their families are watching them suffer. See, that's what my dad witnessed for the last 10 years of his practice. After they slammed the door on the healthy living solution at his biggest group of private doctors in America, healthcare partners, he, for 10 years, ran the nursing homes, and he saw all of them come in there taking all the drugs that don't work, and he's going, oh my God, these drugs don't even work. So he's trying to reduce them and watching them all die, and the family's coming in screaming and crying and arguing about what do you do. Okay, that's why my dad developed atrial fibrillation, and he almost died. 2000. They put him on flecainide. He was working 70 hours a week. Okay. He was getting sicker and sicker. They were going to do heart surgery. And I said, wait a second. That's when I started going to UCLA and I got a big stack that said it was caused by stress. Oh, that's post-traumatic stress. So he had post-traumatic stress atrial fibrillation. Flecainide was never going to work and he was going to die. So I brought him a big stack. He immediately retired, cashed out and got $5 million and created a foundation called No More Medicines. Okay, that was the beginning of the story back then. Okay. Chuck Norris in 2008, again, he said, America, we got to all come together to fix this problem. Millions of Americans are getting a bunch of drugs and bad medical care. Okay, Chuck Norris's wife a few years ago got one drug that poisoned her and almost killed her. He spent months watching her suffer and come back to health. And then he tried to sue the drug company and they got thrown out of court. And so he really wants to fix that problem. But I haven't heard from him yet. Now he's got a supplement company, and I've seen 20 commercials on the internet. He is selling vitamins in a pill to increase your longevity so that you are fit and strong like he is and you live a long time. Okay, but I sent him that video on the millions of seniors getting poisoned. So for the last 10 years, I've had this idea that instead of poisoning all those Americans, if we spend $1 trillion on healthy living programs, we can hire all those veterans that are homeless and the boot camp cure. So it's a long story, but I shared that letter, 2-page letter, with the FBI, Department of Justice, like 20 people there, like 10 years ago. Medicaid fraud. I think I got it to Kamala Harris's team. Okay, soon after, Kamala Harris's team started going after multiple of my partners. It's a long story, okay? This one doctor that was Suzanne Summers' alternative medicine doctor. His daughter was friends with Arnold Schwarzenegger. He got falsely charged with Medicare fraud and slandered and everything, okay? Long story short, I don't know if you guys have been avoiding sticking your neck out, because I've been sticking my neck out and stuff keeps happening. I've only mentioned a little bit here. I went through some of it in some of the other videos. Okay, but, you know, Chaplain Barber, he and all his men, they had to get on boats, go across the ocean, and they had to face all these bullets, and 90% of them got killed or something like that. And then he had to go bury all of them. Okay, Shad, I heard your video about over in Vietnam in the MASH unit, around 1970, way after that peace agreement. You know, you had like 60 casualties in a day, and you had these bodies coming in, people dying, and you got to go put that one over there, put that one over there. How's the blood supply? Okay, in a MASH unit. Okay. I think all those veterans deserve to know what I was told by my friend who carried the peace agreement back in 1969, and I think they're all owed compensation. So all those homeless veterans are owed, maybe a few million dollars each. That'll get them right off the street. Okay, so I gave all this information to Robert Kennedy a couple months ago, in person. Martin Luther King's granddaughter, Angela Stanton King, adopted granddaughter. So she was adopted by Martin Luther King's daughter. She was in jail for a few years when she was pregnant, and she gave birth in pregnant, shackled. So years later, she went to Trump and got him to pass a law making that illegal. Okay. So I gave her the same information. Maybe that's why he's talking about it. He's talking about the pharmaceutical drug companies over-medicating everybody right now is loud. Okay. So I got a picture with him. Let me see. Let me wind it up. Wind it up. So now I've talked for an hour. This may sound like a mountain. No, it's about the end of the mountain. And retiring, because you're seeing all these people getting better and getting the real message, the real cure. It starts with the right information, not a bunch of drugs. And if you spend $1 trillion, then all these veterans can have jobs. All right, so did I finish my list here? Okay. Damn. Long story that I'm going to shorten it. Okay, so I was connecting all the dots to... So Carl Reiner did the Pritikin program 30 years ago, and then he was a spokesperson for 20 years. 25 years until he died in his 90s. So he did it many times. He got Mel Brooks to do it. Both of them lived into their 90s thanks to my dad. Pritikin was before Dean Ornish. Pritikin, like an engineer, came up with this idea of healthy living to treat these illnesses and get people off the drugs. Okay. We don't have to cross the ocean. We don't have to get shot. Okay, if all these people on this list come together, you're friends with half of them. Sandra Bloom, 2008, I contacted her by email. I said, Do you know millions of kids are getting misdiagnosed as having mental illnesses when they just have stress and post-traumatic stress? Oh, yes, I agree, Chris. Thank you for... I'm glad to see somebody's trying to do something about it. That's exactly what I'm working on. Okay, what she says in this book is violence is an infection which is contagious, and certain people are intentionally stirring it up, and they're not being properly informed, and we're not treating the infection, and we all have an obligation, a moral duty, to come together and inform everybody about it. Well, it hasn't happened yet. So, let's do it. That's what we need to do. It's all part of God's plan. I know that. I'm aggravated at him that it's taken so long. But, you know, I can see how it can happen now. It's all lining up. I'm only telling... All the doors are opening now. So, you know Willie Nelson, Shad, for 20, 30 years, right? 10 years ago, I met his brother-in-law. He invited me and my dad to one of their concerts, and I sat there watching Willie from the stage. Okay, his brother-in-law took a couple copies of my dad's book. I gave it to him around Christmas because his relatives have type 2 diabetes. Okay, my dad's book is about stress reduction and everything. But it's incomplete. It needs Dr. Figley's ideas to be married with it. My dad didn't know about post-traumatic stress. Okay, so just put people on diet and exercise and stress reduction. It's not enough. You got to deal with the whole family. That's a network of traumatized people that need to heal together and come up with a healing theory. So that's Dr. Figley's cure. It's the 5-phase treatment of post-traumatic stress. He's got a 10-page paper, the 5-phase treatment of post-traumatic stress. He's got a book called Treating Traumatized Families. Came out before this one. That is much more detailed. All I'm trying to do is bring all these people together. Okay. Paris Hilton is looking for the cure. She thinks she has ADHD. She knows she has PTSD from being in hell for 2 years. She's been taking amphetamines for 10 years or so. That's why she couldn't get pregnant and had to hire 2 surrogates after expensive fertility treatments. So she's taking drugs for her ADHD. She doesn't even know that it's a phony label. And amphetamines is stress in a pill. Okay. So her best friends, Bella Hadid, Gigi Hadid. Bella Hadid was diagnosed with ADHD 10 years ago. She has amnesia for her childhood. For the next 8 years, she had anorexia, feeling suicidal and depressed. Okay, she finally realized a couple years ago, I have PTSD, not ADHD. Got off the amphetamines, and now she's on a healing journey, but she needs the cure. So her whole family's traumatized. Her mom's depressed. Her sister's depressed. Okay. Her mom's looking for the cure too. She wrote a whole book about her looking for the cure for what she thinks is Lyme disease, but she's having a lot of symptoms of depression, the whole family. That's a longer story, okay? But they are all looking for the cure. So, I emailed my proposals to her dad. He built this beautiful mansion on 25 acres up in Beverly Hills. It's empty. And I want to have a series of events there with all you guys. You know, security, beautiful place. Turn it into like a headquarters for global healing. Global healing. So 10 years ago, Willie Nelson his daughter had a dream about a song. And then they wrote it. It's about world peace. Come on, America, let's take back America. It's about world peace. Let's come together and take back America. Okay, then they created a World Peace Foundation, the Willie Nelson World Peace Foundation. I contacted my neighbor, my neighbor who was a co-founder of Farm Aid with Willie. He said, oh, you got to call this guy in Hawaii, in Maui. He's a good friend of Willie's for 30 years, and he wrote this book about world peace. what's his name, James, and they created a foundation for world peace together. And so I contacted them,